Nicolette?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for making the time today to join us. I know that you had a photo shoot, so tell us a little bit about the feature in SME Review.
Yes, we're super excited. We are the main cover on the SME Review. Super excited. It's an magazine that's focused on SMEs because that's who we are working with, mainly small businesses doing their taxes, their payroll, their bookkeeping, but most importantly, helping them pay little to no taxes legally.
I like that, guys. Currently, I received a final demand letter from SARS. I personally, I'm so annoyed. I'm just like, why is SARS literally behind? And let me tell you, Pam, they sent me that final demand letter on a Sunday. I mean, really?
Yeah.
On a Sunday?
Send it to me. I'll sort you out.
I love
Sort you out. Don't worry.
Thank you. This is exactly why we're doing this session.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Pam. Tell us a little bit about your background, education, why you studied what you studied, and why you finding yourself doing tax and being a tax specialist and I want to say an enabler of small businesses to grow and become large corporations.
For sure. Okay, just a little bit about myself. So I'm from Eastern Cape, a very small town called Flagstaff. Shout out Flagstaff. Till this day, we still don't have robots. That's how small our town is. So my father wanted me to go to a multiracial school. And from there, from primary, I started being exposed to accounting. Then straight after high school, I then moved to Johannesburg to further my career. And for the longest time, all I wanted to be was an accountant because I was kind of good at it. And my mom was super excited that there's finally going to be an accountant at home. All right. So right about the time I'm in varsity, my mother was opening her own pharmacy because she had just finished being a pharmacist, studying to being a pharmacist. So she was fortunate enough to actually open her own pharmacy. And the support that she got was immense, you know. And that was the first time I got a taste of having an entrepreneur at home and seeing the benefits of being an entrepreneur, running your own company, as well as the other side of it as well. So I started, the pharmacy was doing so well because I remember when I turned 21, right, I had a 21st birthday party. I even got a car, guys, at 21. So just to elaborate how much success the pharmacy was getting. And it made sense because they're in a Black community, you know, they're the only Black pharmacy in the area. But I started saying, Wuti, hold on. The things I'm learning at varsity are not the things we are doing, right? In terms of the finance and the tax side of the business. Because my mom was phenomenal at being a pharmacist. Yeah. She knew how to help people. She understood, you know, what their struggles was and how to help them. She was great at that. And that is testament to the success of the pharmacy. But the finances side of the business, I was like, it's not what I'm learning. And I remember when I was in varsity, I wanted to be an accountant to work for one of the largest companies in South Africa. That's what I wanted. I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. I wanted to be that girl. When I say I work at, you go like, hey, has arrived. That's really what I wanted, you know. But I then seeing the success of the pharmacy and also the struggle of the finances and the taxes, that actually ignited the fire in me to say, hold on, I'm sure there's a lot of business owners out there who are great at what they do. Yes. They are, you know, you can't beat them at that. But the finances of the business is not their strongest. So that's when I pivoted. I left the comfort of corporate, the comfort of a salary, you know, and then started my own company because I wanted to help small businesses who are great at what they do, but the finances and the taxes side of their business is not their strongest.
That is so true. Often you find a lot of people are either creatives. I mean, Belle's
Yeah.
mentioning now, she's a lawyer. You know, people are really good at their profession. They know what they're supposed to do, and they. I mean,
Mm.
can get you out of a community, married in community of property quickly. You know, but when it comes to the finances, making the money move in the business, reinvesting back
Yeah.
into the business, but also staying compliant so that you
Mm.
create the space for your business to be able to acquire more businesses. And I mean, as I was
Exactly.
saying to you right now, you know, what the instances I found myself in earlier this year was that a corporate company, not even government, because often we think that it's government that wants the tax compliance. Even a corporate company was saying, we can't onboard you as a vendor without the
Yes.
tax clearance certificate. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do now? So I want us to take it back because you spoke a little bit about corporate and SME tax. What's the difference between Nicolette as an individual, my tax that I need to pay, and what a business would be required to pay?
Sure. So just so we are all on the same page now, South Africa is a tax-paying country.
High
So
tax.
meaning that,
High.
yes, one of the highest. So if you are a South African resident and you receive money, income, there is tax on it, right? Now, there's a lot of good the tax that the government gets does, for example, ensuring we've got working public hospitals, we've got a running police system. There's a lot of good that it does, right? Somebody has to pay that bill, right? And the people that pay that bill are individuals, your Nicolette, and corporates, as well as if Nicolette is a company, the company that Nicolette is a director or shareholder in, they also pay tax, as well as trusts and right?
Yes.
So individuals pay tax on any income. So if you receive money, I'm going to try to stay away from big words, guys.
Yes,
I'm
please.
being intentional on
Please.
that. If you make money, there is tax on it.
Yes.
So you can make money by being an employee and getting a salary. You can make money by renting out your back room and you get rental income. There is tax on it. You can make money by investing in shares and earn a profit. There is tax on it. When
I'm
you are in
going
doubt,
through a situation right now with
yeah.
an investment we're trying to withdraw, and the capital gains tax on it. Oh my goodness! But
Yep.
sorry, carry on.
So if in doubt and you've made money, I can assure you there is a tax on it because we live in a tax-paying country.
Yes.
Because of all the good that the tax is supposed to be doing. So individuals as well as small businesses as well as large corporations pay tax.
And whose responsibility? I mean, 40% of South Africans are hired by government. I think another 20% are hired by the corporate sector. So 60% of South Africans are working. Whose responsibility is it to actually hand over the tax? So when SARS comes after you, who are they coming after? Do they come after your employer if they haven't handed over the tax? Or do they come after you as an individual?
They come after you as the individual. They come after you as the individual even when you've got an accountant that is helping you.
Yeah.
Because taxes are ultimately your responsibility. So that's another thing that I just want to stress very, very clearly. Even if you've got an accountant helping you with your taxes or a tax practitioner helping with your company taxes, they are still your responsibility. They are there to assist you. So in terms of an employer and employee relationship, your employer can be holding the tax on your behalf and paying it over to SARS, but you are still responsible for your taxes. That is why at the end of the financial year, which is March, you as the individual still need to submit your taxes. Even if you are employed and your employer has been deducting pay as you earn, UIF, all those deductions, you as the employee are still responsible for your taxes.
Okay, so I get that. So what you're essentially saying needs to happen is that, yes, the employee has been withholding that however percentage of tax that you need to pay, right? So they're paying it over to SARS every single month. That is what we call pay as you earn, right?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
But when the tax season comes and you need to file, you as an individual have a responsibility to go and file in person or on e-filing.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And you can also file via a tax practitioner, particularly if your taxes are quite complicated.
Yes.
So if you've got maybe you are employed by 3 companies within the tax year, you also have shares that you're investing and you sold. You also have rental income that you're making. So if your taxes are a little bit complicated, then please reach out to somebody to assist you. And I'm stressing that they are assisting you because you're ultimately responsible. But you as an individual can also go and walk into a SARS and say, here, all my financial information, please assist me with the tax submissions.
And I like what you just said now, because I once found myself in a situation where I was working for 3 employers and they were all paying based on how much they pay me. So they put me in a bracket based on how much they pay me. And then SARS came back and said, I owe the money. And I was like, hey, bo, kanjani. So please take us through that whole thing about what happens if you have more than one income.
Okay, so if you've got more than one income, that one employer is gonna withhold tax. So it's gonna say, okay, if I pay you 10,000 Rand, of this 10,000 Rand, 1,000 is going to SARS as your tax. Now, employer 2 comes and also adds on that bucket of income that you are getting. Now, as we all know, the more money you make, the more taxes you pay. So that's why you'll find if you get employed by more than one company and you also have other additional income taxes coming in, you get pushed to a higher tax paying bracket. And that's why you'll see that you are now suddenly owing SARS money, even though your employers have been taking money away that they're saying they're paying over to SARS. But then come the end of the tax season, they're like, you still owe SARS more. That's because the more income you are getting, the more you get pushed to being required to pay more tax so we can live in this awesome country of ours.
I love how you keep emphasizing the importance of paying tax and the benefit of paying tax. Ma'am, we've just
We might as well give us a chance, okay?
We've been talking about the GNU. Give us time. Okay. So let's talk about that. And I'm sorry to kind of sit on this matter because I think it's quite an important one. We've got a lot of SMEs that are joining us tonight and watching this and probably will watch later. But I also do feel we've got individuals who, because we are in a very big what is it called? I forgot the name now of an economy where everybody's got different types of like side hustles. So people don't just have ordinarily their job, like the traditional way money, right? Some people have invested income from either their rental property, maybe they've got one rental property. Some people have boyfriends that send them money or girlfriends that give them extra money, you know? So what you are saying is a person needs to be aware of what their total income is, because that could potentially push them into a different tax bracket.
That's very correct, and it's not all doom and gloom. Okay. I'm sure Nicolette is going to touch on this, but there's also ways that tax can also be reduced, right? But yes, the more income you make, the more taxes you get attracted to because you're making more money. It's a progressive taxing system that basically says the more money you make, the more taxes you pay.
And as you mentioned, we'll come back to speaking about tax breaks because I actually just want to have the conversations in different buckets so that when we have tax break conversation, we can have tax break conversation. So,
sure.
And I'm focusing now for the first couple of minutes on the individual. What happens to you? Yes, you've paid over tax. There's this assumption that automatically your tax matters are in order because you've paid over, because your employer has paid over. So people sit and don't file. What happens in the instance you do not file?
So in the instance where you do not file, you must just know that you are currently incurring penalties and will wake up with a letter of demand saying that you owe SARS 20,000 in terms of penalties and interest. And remember, if you do not file, SARS is of the assumption that you are liable for your taxes, and you don't get the opportunity to, sorry to touch on this, but of reducing those taxes, because your employer is sending to SARS your IRP5, which is basically a summary of your pay slips. So every year, your employer is sending the financial information to SARS. So under SARS's view, you are sitting with this income that you have received, but you're not filing. All that's happening is that interest and penalties are accumulating because you are not filing. You are not being tax compliant. So not filing is not a good thing to do. But even if you are not sure, then rather go to SARS, rather reach out to a tax practitioner to find out, am I supposed to be filing? Rather be told you shouldn't be filing than assume that you should not be filing, because you are incurring penalties and interest.
And then other than not deriving an income, is there a possibility that someone could be deriving an income but not be liable to pay over a certain amount of tax? And just before you answer that, guys, yes, please feel free to send through your questions. I'll note them down, and when we've got a gap, and I'll throw in your question. If it's relevant to the specific conversation right now, we'll throw it at Pam.
Sure. Okay, so are there instances where you would not be paying taxes? Yes. If your income in a month is less than 7,500 roughly, then no, you would not. However, still correspond with SARS. Don't leave it as I'm not going to be submitting, because every year the amount changes, right? Yes. So this year it might be 7.5, next year it might be 7.4, you know, so rather be communicative with SARS to say that, okay, here is my income and it's less than the 7.5. That's why I am not going to be filing.
Okay, so you're saying rather stay on the safe side, still go and find out from SARS if you need to be filing, rather than sitting and saying, I only earn 7.5, therefore I don't need to. Okay, I think we did that. There's then also a thing around tax evasion and tax avoidance. In the case of individuals, I'm assuming that the tax evasion could come from you not declaring your other income that might not necessarily have an IRP5, right?
Yeah, yes. So, and that's where you'd find lifestyle audits take place from SARS, because you have not been transparent. You have not declared every income that you are getting. So income is not just from your payslip. It's any money that you as a resident of South Africa receive. You have to declare and will be taxed on it. So that's when you are not doing things legally, because you are not declaring. So now you're avoiding taxes, which is not legal.
Yep. Yeah, I know. I'm so stressed. We've got a question coming in from Mogatane Buitumelo, from Buitumelo Mogatane.
Yeah.
Apologies if I'm not pronouncing your surname correctly. It is a question for small businesses that I think we should get to, but I think let's answer her while we're at it, because the conversation will be progressive, right? She would like to know whether small businesses that are non-registered, should they pay tax?
Well, first and foremost, why is the business not registered? Because there's so many things opportunities you're missing out on because your company is not registered. Like Nicolette touched on, is if you want to be a supplier to a corporate company, the first thing they're going to ask for is your corporate your letter that your company is registered, right? So you are actually holding your business back quite a bit by not being registered. Now, whether the business is registered or not, by you receiving income, you should be paying tax on it, right? So you are, at some point, you will have to declare to SARS that 2 years ago, before I was legally registered, I was receiving this income. Because like I mentioned, if you're a South African resident and you are receiving income, there should be taxes that you are paying on it, right? So, yeah.
And I think especially if you're having the money come through a bank account, because if it's coming through a bank account, then it's coming to an individual, right? Because the business doesn't have registration, which then sits with with the issue that you are now actually,
Yes.
so.
So the company might not be registered, but you, the director who is getting that income on behalf of that company, should be declaring that income that you're getting in your personal capacity, because now there's no company that is registered. So you are more trading your company as a sole proprietor, which, I would say, I just would love to know why you are not registering your company, because there's a lot of benefits. But just to answer your question, the fact that you are receiving income, there should be tax paid on it. If not, you are not declaring all the income that you are getting, and that's not legal.
That is not legally. PEM can't build her state-of-the-art hospitals without our tax money. Mwezi wants to know if he is working overseas, what must he do about his tax obligation in South Africa? I'm assuming.
Okay, so we're now touching on residency. If you are a South African and you make income anywhere in the world, that income gets taxed in South Africa, right? If you are a non-resident and you are making income in South Africa, the only tax that you will be taxed is based on the income you make in South Africa. Now, you must know between countries, there's the double tax, what's the word? Double, I forgot there's the double tax duty, just forgot the word, but there's agreements between countries when somebody is from one country and working in another country.
Yes.
So there are those discussions that would have to happen. And we would have to look into each case to determine whether are you supposed to be taxed in South Africa completely, or some of it will be taxed outside. So when it comes to that, there is a little bit of work that needs to be done to determine which tax gets taxed for which country.
I know that what you're speaking about on YouTube, Google has, because it's sitting in Ireland, there's a treaty, a tax treaty between Ireland and South Africa, and some of the tax in Ireland and some of it in South Africa. Speaking about Google and YouTube, because I know there's influencers also on the channel and watching right now. Influencer money is money, right? And it's taxed.
Money.
So influencer money, would you need to give, let's say for instance, you are working with a company, would you need to give them a tax directive for them to withhold the tax, or do you take the responsibility of earning all of their money and then you pay over the tax?
Okay, so there is a little bit of complication when it comes to this, because we'd have to dig into a little bit deeper, because there's also the not employees, there's the, what's that thing? When you are, forgot. Okay, but the company that you're working for, you need to do an assessment to determine, are they viewing you as an employee or not,
or
right?
as an independent contractor.
Independent contractor, yes, that's what I was looking for.
Yes.
So now, if based on the assessment that is done, whether you're an independent contractor or you're an employee, that's what will determine how the tax is going to be treated by that company. Whether they're going to withhold some of the money they pay over to you because you are viewed as an employee, or if you are viewed as an independent contractor, they pay you the full amount and you are then responsible for paying over to SARS what is due to SARS. So we just have to dig a little bit deeper to understand whether are you falling more of an employee or an independent contractor.
All right. Clara Mangha says, I just joined now. Can I ask a question about home loan repayment? I'm assuming you're going to ask about the interest and how much the tax break is. If that's the question, please do type it in and we'll bring it up when we're talking about tax break. We're still getting to that conversation. I think unless there's somebody else who wants to ask something specific about individual tax for individuals, I want to move a little bit to SME tax, and then we'll come back to individuals at the end when we speak about the tax breaks and what other taxes you are meant to pay, right? So let's talk about, okay, here's a question. As with personal tax, is there a minimum amount of, okay, perfect. So I'll ask this question right after my question, because Vusi is asking about, is there a minimum where you're not liable to then file or rather pay tax when you're an SME? What types of taxes are SMEs supposed to be paying?
There's a lot.
That's the problem. That's my issue. Income tax, VAT, provisional tax. What tax? I'm like, sorry, ESDL. What? Sorry, hello, please, man.
Yes. So there's a lot of taxes, and it's mainly because there's different types of incomes that you are getting.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Yes.
So not all types of income attract the same type of tax, but all types of income attract some kind of tax. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the typical ones, I'd say the first one is your income tax if you're an SME. So income tax is when you've made a sale, we minus all the company expenses and the bottom line, which is the profit. On that profit, you pay tax.
Okay.
Right.
So don't let money sit in your business account. You better just have expenses.
Expenses in order to reduce your tax bill. Okay. Then there is VAT. Now, VAT is basically value-added tax. Is if you add value to something, there's tax that gets attached to it. So let's say you made this lipstick, right? You went and got this thing. You went and got the lid. And then you added value so that a lady like me can go and buy this thing. So now, because you've added value on this, there is value-added tax that is currently at 15% in South Africa, all right? And then another one, which is not really a company's tax, is pay as you earn. Because pay as you earn, it's the employees that are paying that tax, and you are just holding it on their behalf and paying it over to SARS.
Yes.
But you as the SME are still responsible for holding that money, right? Similar with UIF, 1% is the company's responsibility, 1% is the employee's responsibility. But the whole UIF, the SME is supposed to hold it and pay it over to SARS. SARS who then pays it to the Department of Labor. Okay.
Yes.
Then there's dividend tax. This is for the guys making money.
Please.
Yeah. So if your company
have you seen dividends? They're like R2. Please, man, we're not making money. Please.
So just to stress, guys, there's so many taxes. When you get to that level where you are now making tax proper money and paying yourself a dividend, there is dividend tax attracted to that. There's donations taxes that you have to pay over. So this is when now it becomes important for SMEs to be able to have a relationship with a tax practitioner and an accountant for them to say, okay, this is what my company does, this is what I've been exposed to, and then that accountant tax practitioner can then talk you through all the possible taxes you are probably liable for, because you're not going to know all these things. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to be out there making money as a small business owner and leaving the taxes to tax practitioners. So there's quite a few.
Look, the only thing I'm very happy about when it comes to corporate tax is that it's at 27%, right? It's the only thing. And I know that as a small business, there's also small business taxes that you can go even lower or a break for small businesses, right? Let's answer Vusi's question first. I think it will lead us to the next question. So Vusi wanted to find out, just as there is the 7.5 kind of ceiling for liability or obligation to pay tax, is there something akin for small businesses?
100%.
Okay.
So if you run a small business, first and foremost, any profit that you make, you are going to be paying tax at 27%.
Mm-hmm.
However, because you're a small business and government is kind, they're trying to help us invest more into our businesses.
Okay.
Then you can actually reduce the tax via what's called the Small Business Corporation, SBC.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you've made a profit, if you qualify as a small business corporation, you could pay no tax, even though you have made a profit, right?
Can you give us an example of a qualification? So what kind of a business would qualify?
Okay, so the top three criteria is, for example, your company's annual revenue. So it's sales at the top. They must be less than 10 million a year. The second thing is all the shareholders within your company have got to be natural people, so breathing people, okay, like you and I.
Second,
right?
Qualification.
It can't be. Sorry?
I'm saying second qualification, tick. I'm waiting.
So if you've got shareholders in your company who are other companies or trusts, you get an X.
Okay.
So it has to be individual.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing is your revenue must be from making sales. It mustn't be from dividend income or interest. Are you with me? It must be like you are properly running a business.
Hi, Jack qualifier, Pam.
Yep.
The
fourth one, which I think is quite relevant because we've got a lot of small business owners who've got many companies. The fourth requirement is that you must have shares only in that company, right?
Honestly, like we sit on HOAs, we're directors, we've been opening companies since we were 18.
No, being a director is not the issue. It's the shareholders that are the issue. So you could be shareholders directors in quite a few companies, but if you are a shareholder in a number of companies, then it kicks you out. And I can understand the thinking, because if you think about it, small business owners, when they are focused on just one company, right, it's likely to succeed versus if they are focusing on 5 companies. One is a B&B, one is a restaurant, one is in logistics, one is in, right? If you're a jack of all trades, you don't get to specialize in one and ensure that it becomes a success, because 1 minute you are there, 1 minute you're there, 1 minute you're there. Are you with me? So I can sort of get where their thinking was.
I was this close. I was so close. I was inside. I'm not ready. I was so close. Okay. Fair enough. So yes, you were saying if you are you qualify to win, it's called the SBC.
SBC, S for sugar, B for bunny, C for cat. Okay. I've got toddlers, so yeah.
And then what else is the other instance that would help you not pay tax?
So the other one, which is actually a very great incentive, is if you hire young South Africans, okay, right? Because we all know that the unemployment rate for youth is very high, right? So what government does, and this is not limited to small businesses, it's any business, regardless of size, making 50 million a year, it doesn't matter. If your company hires young South African, by young, they must be younger than the age of 30, so between 18 and 30. Mm-hmm. They must be at entry level, so meaning that their salary is less than 6.5. The third requirement is that they must be South African. right? It doesn't matter whether they are blue skin, red skin, yellow, as long as they hold a South African ID.
Okay.
If your employee meets those three requirements, then your pay as you earn can be reduced at the end of each month. All right. So
Yeah.
that's called the employment tax incentive. It's the ETI. So government is trying to encourage companies to hire young South Africans, and as an incentives, when they do that, then their pay as you earn gets reduced.
I genuinely want to say, yay, it's amazing. I just don't think it is.
Why?
I mean, listen, to pay someone 6.5 these days, especially, you know, when you're running specialized businesses, it's very hard to get that right. Look, I generally think maybe and I guess it's for, based on industry, there is some industries that can potentially really take advantage of that. But I mean, you try negotiate with a young community manager who's running your social media, doing your digital, and you say, I'm going to pay you 6.5. They'll tell you, Sisi, please do it yourself.
And I think it mainly benefits, particularly the people coming straight from varsity,
Yes.
who are literally just looking for experience.
Yes.
Because we all know nowadays, most companies, the first thing they want is experience, and then they are paying like a minimum amount, even though they are requiring experience. So to open doors for those people, because a year in your company, burning the basic wage can do great things because they now have experience under their belt.
And I'm sure the retail guys are doing very well in tapping into that, because the retail space, you'd get a lot of young people. I don't know if they are South Africans, but quite a lot of young people are probably earning just below that 6.5.
Just below.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so it's the SBC, it's this specific one, and then the third one was again, sorry.
So the third one could be a variety of things. For example, if your company is involved in research and development, so research and development, let's say you spend 200,000 on research and development, you can actually get a tax deduction of about 300,000 more than what you actually spent, right? Because you are making your company better, which will ultimately result in the country being better off. But this deduction, right, you have to be clear and have spoken to SARS to ensure that what you are doing does qualify as research and development. You must be coming up with something new, something different, something that has never been done. That's why even if you had spent 200K, you get 300 as a deduction over and above what you actually spent.
I like that. I like that. I like that. But I like also how important SARS stresses that you must come first and check, because your research might not be what you out here researching the tsetse flies there in Limpopo. They're just like, no, we've done enough research on tsetse flies, please, man. Okay, I like that. There's a question that Clara has asked. I'm gonna just ask for it to be frozen, Clara, for 2 seconds. We'll come back to it when we come back to the individuals. It's around home loans. In fact, when you were speaking about that employment tax, it reminded me of 613, 613, whatever, where if you are buying, you also get a tax incentive if you are buying 5 newly developed properties or something like that. But anyway, Pam, when are you liable to pay that?
Okay. So EVAT, you are liable, as in it's non-negotiable. When your company's revenue, when you make a sale and all those sales add up to 1 million in 12 months, right? If all your sales add up to 1 million in 12 months or projected, so let's say in the next 12 months, your sales are going to add up to 1 million. And how you'll know this is because of a contract that you have been awarded that has told you, I'm going to make sales of 1 million plus.
Yeah.
So it's either in the last 12 months or in the next 12 months, your expected sales at the top, not the profit, your sales are going to be 1 million plus. You have to register for that. Have to. Non-negotiable. So that's when you become liable for registering for VAT. It's when your sales are over 1 million, are expected to be over 1 million.
And you know, I think we actually need, you and I must actually sit and do a little bit more content around VAT, because I once had a client that I put, because I'm now a VAT vendor, and I put my VAT there and I added my 15%, and this client was like, I can't pay the VAT. I said, sweetie, it's not for me. It's not my money. It's going straight to the government. I'm not charging
my money.
more. It's not my fault. I'm not charging you more. Government wants their 15%, you know? So it's always like a very uncomfortable conversation, because I do think there's a lot of young people or people that are running small businesses that don't realize that they might need to pay over a VAT portion on an invoice, you know, that people are sending out to them. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about when you are, and which is a lot of SMEs in South Africa, right? Young people are starting businesses, excited, we're contributing, we're doing our part for, you know, National Development Plan, we're doing our part for the SDGs, but most of us don't realize that we have to actually register for payee because we've got employees. Most of us, we're doing the bare minimum of actually doing income tax, but we're not doing the payee tax. What are the implications of not doing that part, of not paying people, they're paying over tax for your employees, and then also the UIF? So all of those taxes that you spoke about that are directly linked to the people who work for you.
Sure. So I'll touch on the UIF as a start, right? Basically, what is the UIF? UIF is insurance in case, let's say your employee goes on maternity leave and needs to earn income. Because think about it, as the business owner, while that employee is on maternity leave, somebody is not, there's a gap within your company. So now you need to hire somebody else, be it on a temporal basis, while that person is on leave, on maternity leave. But if you have not been contributing UIF on behalf of the employees, that employee that is on maternity leave, where they're gonna get their income. If you as the employer are gonna pay that employee that's on maternity leave, you will essentially now be paying two salaries. The person that's on maternity leave and the person that is currently filling the space for the person that's on maternity leave, right? So if us business owners start viewing this differently in terms of what are the benefits, what is my company getting out of me paying this tax, then we'll start treating it differently when it comes to paying it over, right? The other one that I just want to touch on is COIDA. I know you didn't mention that one, but I specifically want to touch on that because it's quite important. So COIDA is insurance in case one of your employees gets injured while at work. Guys, do you know that if something happens to one of your employees, they are your responsibility? So now, I wanted a client whose employee was working in the butchery, and you know when you work in the butchery, what are you likely to be slicing? Meat, right?
Including your hand.
And what are you even your hand? And that's exactly what happened. And the SME was responsible for all the medical bills, anything, and Lord forbid that employee had passed on. The employer, which is the SME, because guys, it's not just because I'm a small company. This is only something that big corporates need to worry about. No, if you've got employees and something happens to them while they are working, it becomes your responsibility. The medical bills, the time away that the employer was attending to doctors, and the SME had to pay. Are you with me? So So it's insurance so that if something happens to your employees while they're at work, you have insurance cover. Insurance is, by the way, it can happen, it cannot.
Yeah.
And we all know you'd better be insured than not.
Yeah.
Because if it does happen, it becomes your responsibility. So there's a lot of consequences for not doing the things we are supposed to be doing. And it's not just financial consequences, it's reputational damage as well. Imagine if your employee goes and to the CCMA, TV gets involved, and then your customers now, which are probably corporates, are like seeing what you are doing in your organization. They're not going to want to work with you, right? So now there you go, losing big contracts and.
Sure. Simply because you didn't have COIDA. I'm just thinking about, I'm like, yeah, I might not be a butchery and they may not be, you know, operating heavy machinery, but sometimes they have to drive somewhere, or sometimes they're driving back from an activation or an event. If something is to happen to them, that's still within working, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. Because I'll take for me, because we work behind the desk, so we provide a service, work behind the desk. You might think you shouldn't have to worry about COIDA. But we had to have a photo shoot with the team. We had to drive somewhere.
Yes.
If something happened to the team while we were driving there, guess whose responsibility it is?
It's yours, girl. CEO.
Yes.
MD.
Founder.
Founder.
We like those titles.
We've got a comment coming in from Bells. She says a lot of people have only registered companies but have never actually issued shares to themselves. Yeah, and I think speaking to that conversation about the SBC requirements for you to qualify, there's also another one. She says that 6.5 limit is giving exploitation flag somewhere, somehow. Yeah, I agree. 6.5 guys. There was something, and I want to get into the conversation around tax deductions and where you can get tax breaks. There was a question coming in, I can't remember from who, but she wanted to find out how can she get a refund? Everybody's getting refunds. Is there a way to tutor the system to get a refund? Please, ma'am.
Yes, yes, there is. And guys, I want to stress this because I get this question a lot. Why am I always paying over to SARS? Why don't I ever get a refund? SARS is not in the business of giving money. So how a refund actually happens is, during the year, you paid more taxes than you should have.
Okay.
Right? And therefore, SARS is paying you back your money that you paid. SARS doesn't create money from anywhere. Refund means that you overpaid somewhere, and that's how you are getting a refund. Right?
Okay.
So a refund can happen whereby your deductions, I know we will touch a bit on this, but where your deductions causes you, so you pay taxes and your deductions exceeded, therefore you are getting a refund. Right? Yes. So those are instances where you can get deductions. Either you paid too much taxes during the year, or your deductions were higher, and that's how you are getting a refund.
Yeah,
but it was all your money. It was all your money to begin with, because I guess people seem to think that creating money from somewhere. No, it was your money in the first place that you're just getting back.
So Kia _M wants to know, must girlfriend allowance also be declared? Like, is this super serious?
Yes, it is. Because the girlfriend allowance for one person is 10,000, for other it's 1 million. You know, depends. So yes, all declared. You have to declare.
So
and sorry, Nico, just to touch on this, because that's, and I think I did mention it, the whole thing about lifestyle audits, right? Because you could say, I earn a salary of 10,000, but my boyfriend gave me 1 million rand, and then I'm driving a Porsche, and then SARS is like, hold on. When I look at what you've declared to me, you said 10,000, and then you're driving a Porsche. That results into a lifestyle audit, and then penalties and interest and jail time and happens because you have not declared.
So when we give these men a price of how much our girlfriend allowance should be, we have to factor tax in, because my take is, if my tax bracket is there by 36, so what is it, 36, né? And then you're now pushing me to 45 because of your allowance, you must now factor in.
You must now factor in taxes, guys. You heard it here. Factor in taxes.
Yeah, and it's important because I saw the fella, now I'm getting stressed by SARS. Oh, let's talk a little bit about the tax breaks. Guys, please do send some of your questions if you have. Clara wants to find out, if I reversed my monthly repayment for my mortgage, which is the home loan or bond, will they add more interest or years? Okay, but this is a finance question. This is not a tax question. Clara, I'm going to put your question on pause. I'll answer you at the end. I want to ask a question, Pam, because
Sure.
I last year did my taxes, and I told the government that my property made a loss. I think I had 2 properties that made losses because there were no tenants in them. And then SARS came back and said, I must write a plan of how I'm going to make those properties profitable. What legal standing do they have to tell me about my properties?
Okay, you must remember, and again, we need to change the way we are looking at things, right? When you are running a business, even if it's property, you are in the business of making money. Is that correct?
Yes.
So when you are not making money, it's gonna result in you getting a refund and less taxes are being paid over to SARS, right?
Yes.
So it's only fair that they need to understand what is your plan, because you could be trying to evade taxes by holding this business that is just making losses and therefore reducing your tax liability. Are you with me? So they need to know, is this ever going to be profitable, so that we can start earning money from, by earning money, I mean earning taxes from this property that you are holding. And again, also just listen to what they are telling you is, you are in the business of making money. Why aren't you earning money?
They are not shareholders in my business. Even now. What if I was just not in the mood to find a tenant this year? I mean, excuse me, SARS. So they're looking out for themselves, basically.
And you as well, because also look at it from this perspective, right?
Yes.
If your property was not making losses, was not making profit and is making losses, if you are not learning certain lessons from what did I do wrong resulting in me not making a profit, you could go open another property and find yourself in the same situation whereby you are making losses. Are you with me? So they also are indirectly looking after you, because now you should be saying, okay, property 2 made losses. How do I ensure that any other property I buy does not find itself in that similar position, right? And making losses is actually very bad for us business owners, because it means money came out, then it came in. Money from where?
Look, I think your response is very noble. I hear what you are saying. However, SARS needs to come out of my pocket. They are not in get out of my business, okay? I mean, the country's interest rates are high. People can't afford some of our rent. You know, there's many reasons. I was just shocked at them saying, you need to write a business plan to tell us how you're going to make these properties profitable. Davel and Dachi, guys, please don't bore me. Please.
Nicolette.
Okay, here's the question. Ledwaba Polinki wants to find out, if you are getting paid 5,000 Rand for rental every month for 2 years straight, will it affect my tax?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, well. If in doubt, the answer is always yes.
I love that. I love that. If in doubt, the answer is always going to be yes. And I think you said it. You said there was a nice little quote you said about the likelihood, or I don't know what you said, but it was like that the likelihood is that you're going to pay tax on an income, but there might be whatever tax on. Yeah, you must repeat it again. I can't remember what you said, but I loved it. Let's talk about the tax breaks, Pam. Maybe you'll start, if you can start off with maybe a couple as an individual, and then a couple as an SME?
Sure. Okay, so tax breaks, you can call them a number of things, but it's basically how can you pay less tax?
Yes.
Legally, guys, legally. How can you do it legally? So, guys, we want to sleep peacefully at night. Yes, now when SARS calls, I answer. You know, because I know I'm doing things right.
Absolutely.
Those of you who are not sleeping peacefully, please reach out. Okay, so tax, how can you pay less tax if you're an individual? There's a number of ways. The one of them is through the pension fund that you are paying over, that can help you pay less tax. Through medical expenses, you can pay less tax. And I just want to touch more on the medical expenses, because the assumption there is that it's only if you are on medical aid can you deduct the expense. But it's any medical expense that you incur. So if you go to Discam and you buy, I don't know, medication, keep that slip, because that is a medical expense and you can deduct it for your taxes. And it's not only limited to you, to all the people that are your responsibility. So your dependents, like your children. If you incur any medical expense, not limited to medical aid, then you can deduct your taxes on it. Another one would be like if you make a donation, you're doing something very noble that can help you reduce your tax bill.
And send me a donation. We are hungry.
No, they need to have a Section 18A certificate, not just any. You see, SARS has woken up because of such things. Now they want a proper certificate that confirms who the donation went to. Hey, guys, they've thought of literally almost anything to ensure that the tax bill is reduced, but not completely cut out, because they need those taxes in order to run this awesome country of ours. So for individuals, for example, if you use your personal car for business travel, there's an amount that can help you reduce your taxes. I think those are the one medical aid. Yeah.
And if you have a home office,
if you've got a home office, yes, a percentage of the expenses that your entire home incurs can be reduced. But they've become very strict, particularly after COVID, because a lot of us were claiming for working from home. So that space has to be used exclusively for work, right? You need to demonstrate a lot of things for them to say, yes, you therefore qualify for this deduction. But 100%, if you are working from home, you can claim certain expenses that your whole house incurs, like the interest on the bond that you are paying, the water and the lights, the cleaner as well. A portion of your cleaner's salary, you can claim it as a deduction if you are working from home.
Really? That is fantastic. I have that. I need that. I need to be claiming some tax breaks. And I think a lot of us don't do it. You have just come at the right time. I don't think you understand. I'm loving this conversation, because I just feel like many of us, as we were speaking about the medical bills, I was thinking about my operation now in in December last year, because I paid for the whole thing out of my pocket. I'm like, please, I cannot wait for the financial year. I cannot wait. And then let's talk about, okay, here's a question before we move on to SME taxes. Miss Nicolette would like to know, I heard if you keep all the slips of the medication that I buy over the counter that medical aid doesn't cover, I can then claim that back from SARS. Yes, indeed, ma'am. You can certainly.
Yes, indeed. And not just you, your dependents as well. If you've got kids that you incurred any expenses, medical expenses for them, they also fall under your tax as a deduction.
Speaking about dependents, does that include financial dependents that are not necessarily children born from you? So let's say a sibling or a parent. Okay,
It
okay,
does.
perfect.
It does. But there you need to demonstrate that they truly are your dependents.
Yeah, okay,
So
okay.
you're probably gonna be going to the police and getting affidavits and. But yeah, there you definitely can claim, but you need to demonstrate.
Okay. Here's a question with regards to COIDA. What happens if I have temporary workers?
Okay, I love this question because we as business owners are under the impression if it's a temporal, if it's part-time, if it's what are all the other variations, you know,
Freelancer,
as
independent contractor.
freelancer. There's so many. While they are working for you, helping you generate income, if anything happens to them, it becomes your responsibility.
Okay, okay. We've got a comment that's coming in from Ula_Mkolo regarding the R&D, research and development that companies spend. It indirectly restricts employees to work back the money spent on them. I'm not sure.
Why does it indirectly restrict? Yeah, maybe they can elaborate why they say it indirectly restricts employees.
Ula, if you're still in
We'll
the
get
chat.
a little bit more info.
Perfect. Ula, if you are still in the chat, please come back and we'll put you on screen if you can just help us in understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, Pam, talk to us now about SME deductions or possible tax breaks.
Sure. So if you incurred an expense in order to make money, right? So you are in the business of making money. Any expense that you incur while trying to make that money is deductible, right? Because it's in the production of income.
Wait. Hold up.
Yes.
I'm in the business of making cartoons. You're telling me that
Yes.
animator making the cartoon, his expense that I need to pay him can be a tax deductible.
It is. It is. Because remember, without them, you're not going to make the income. Are you with me?
Yes, I am with you.
Yes.
I didn't know that. My tax people never told me that.
Yes. They are, because it is a business expense, or else you're not going to be able to make that income. And we want you to make that income so we can tax you on it, right? So any expense that you incur in order to make that income is deductible.
Okay, so that's one.
So basically for businesses, it's literally any expense that you incur, right? But I just want to stress this because I know a lot of business owners do this. If you then put in your medical, let's say not medical bill, let's say your, I don't know, your bond payment via the business account, that does not qualify for a deduction because that's your personal expense. It has nothing to do with the business, even though it's going through your business bank account, right? So it's expenses that are in the production of the income that you can deduct.
But what if it's the business's asset? So yes, it's a home loan, but it's the business's home loan, and the business gets either like a rental on that property.
Then there it is definitely deductible because remember you had to pay that home loan in order to get that rental income.
Yes.
So there it's different. Whereas if it's your resident where your family lives, it's not linked to you making that money, right? Yes. So that's where the difference comes in. Yeah. Okay. And then so literally almost all expenses that your company incurs are deductible when you think about it, right?
Yes.
With certain exceptions, for example, if you make a donation, you need to have produced that Section 18A certificate that confirms that donation is going to a public organization that's recognized and. So there are a few exceptions, but 99% of business expenses are tax deductible, right? And then there are those other things where you say, okay, now that you have you've made a profit, can we pay less tax on this profit? So that's where the SBC comes in, that Small Business Corporations taxes comes in, to say, even though you've made a profit, let's reduce it even further. And then the other one was regards to reducing your pay as you earn. Yeah, then there are those ones.
Okay, that's very interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that because it's simple enough, it's straightforward. It speaks
Yeah.
to how does the business actually make money, and every single, I mean, it's obviously not every single expense, but as you've
Yeah.
mentioned, if it's an expense that is contributing to the business making money, then there should be a tax deduction on it. You spoke also about the tax and section, what's it called? The certificate?
18A?
Yes.
Yeah, the section 18A for donations.
Now we know and we have heard the rumors say allegedly people are then registering those and using them to pay and make donations to themselves and their foundations, Nicolette Mashile Foundation, and then evading tax in that manner. One, how difficult is it to set up a 18A business company? And two, how easy would it be for SARS to pick it up that that's what you are doing?
You know, SARS has an entire audit department, in case people didn't know. And their job is to pick up such things, right? So yes, there is agencies within SARS whose job is to identify such things, because this is now avoiding tax, you know, and it's not the correct type, it's the illegal thing, right? So to create, to set up is a little bit complex, but it can be done, right? You can appoint a company to help you set up an NGO, obtain all the necessary certificates. It can be set up, because until you have demonstrated that your intention is not pure, then everything is going to go correctly, like you are legitimately trying to register a non-profit organization. But guys, I don't know about y'all, but now I like to sleep at night. You know, I've got children, and the lifestyle I'm creating, I want it to be something continuous, without fear that at any moment somebody can come knocking in the door and take it all away. Imagine the implication that would have, not just for you, but for your kids as well. So we really must think about some of these things. And there are so many legal ways of making money and sleeping peacefully as well. So yeah, SARS does have a department that is purely focused on audit to pick up such things. And should they come knocking on your door, guys, don't call me, call a lawyer.
Call Bells. She's here somewhere. Call Bells. She'll be able to help you. Okay, in the donations case of products, do we deduct the cost of the price of the product or the selling price? So let's say it's a lady called from Profuse Beauty. They want to know if they, for instance, get asked for products for Nelson Mandela or for, you know, a women's event, and they actually donate in product, what would they claim? SARS, the cost of the product or the selling price? That's a good question.
So because they, sure, because it's basically based on the market value, right? I think it's either, I stand corrected, but I think it's probably the lower of cost or the market value, because you might have bought it at 10 Rand, but the value, like you bought a Nokia at however much, and the value is now so much. So I think it's the lower of the cost or the market value to determine what would be deductible for you.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Then there's a one coming from Joanna Shachuayo, and she wants to know, she's had a company since 2019, but it's never worked, and it does have a tax number. So for the cases of dormant companies, how would SARS treat that? Would they need to file every year?
Okay, guys, let's look at it from SARS's perspective. And guys, I don't work for SARS. Please.
Yes, sure. You sound a little like you work for SARS.
Disclaimer. I work for small business owners. So and you'll hear me when I explain this. So let's look at it from SARS perspective. You registered a company and you now have a tax number. Unless you say to SARS, my company is not trading, how is SARS going to know?
Okay, I get it.
Then they fall on the assumption that because you registered a company, it is therefore trading, right? And you not disclosing to them results in you earning penalties and interest, because as far as SARS is concerned, you registered a company. This company is probably trading, so you are not being tax compliant. That's why you are incurring penalties and interest.
Makes sense.
So I would say declare, say I am not trading, and that's okay. They're not going to punish you or anything like that. And then the penalties, they're not going to charge you penalties. They're not going to charge interest because you have said my company is dormant.
Okay, now that's fair. Ms. Naketsane would like to know, if I work from home 70% of the time, how do I claim from SARS for my workspace at home? Would they ask you to send pictures?
They do. They do. And depending on how much it is that you are trying to get a deduction for, a representative can actually be appointed to go view that to see if is this real or not. Are you with me? Because it is reducing your tax bill, right?
Man.
So they do ask pictures. They do ask to confirm so that they know that this is real. So yeah, they do. So it's all just a calculation, just to answer that. It's a calculation, would look at the portion of the home office. I think, did she say 70% or 70% of the time?
70% of time.
Okay, so we'd look at the portion of the property versus the portion of the office space versus the whole house, and then determine the expenses that you're incurring for the whole house, and then allocate a portion to the office space. And then also say times 70% of the time, because it's not 100% that you're working from home.
That's a little discriminatory, Pam. I mean, because if you want an isolated working space, some people live in small apartments, for instance, but they work from home, you know what I mean? So there isn't a dedicated space that one can create that is a home office. They don't have the luxury. So they use the dinner table during the day. That becomes the office. You know, it's not possible. And I find that to be a little bit discriminatory, because only the wealthy can have enough space.
Yeah, dedicated. Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. And particularly during load shedding, that was brought up a lot, to say, but how is this fair? Because it seems like people who are well off are the ones that are gonna get this deduction. But you know, that's why it becomes important when law is being put is gonna be put in, that public discussions are had, and you share your views, because that's the only way we are able to change things, or else things are going to stay the same. So when opportunity comes up for you to have a say in what is happening in your country, have a say.
True. And I think a lot of us don't do that, right? We don't make public documents, we don't make public opinion or comments on all of those things. You know, we are just trying to put food on the table, sippy, sana. We don't even remember to file our taxes. How will you remember to have opinions and comments?
and Nico, I'm glad you mentioned this, because it's the same thing with the budget speech, right? We as individuals think that's not applicable to us, you know, or small business owners think, why should I listen to the budget speech? And then the next thing you hear is that the taxes in your company have gone up. But if you were part of the conversation, you would know that, right? You are playing in an industry that requires you to know this information. So things like listening to the budget speech is very important, so you know what is going to affect you. And taxes affect you in terms of your business or in terms of you as an individual.
I think maybe what we'll do next year, we'll commit to you and I doing a video of what small businesses should look out for. I mean, even individuals. one of the biggest things that we spoke about this year, I mean, there were no tax increases, but we know there was also no inflation adjustments, you know what I mean? So you got an inflation adjusted salary, you actually end up paying a little bit more tax, even though there was no tax changes. So I guess maybe you and I can really commit to doing a video next year, just before the budget speech. What can people look out for? What didn't change last year? What are we hoping for to see change? And after the budget speech, again, to then reflect on what has actually been put out. And I think it will be an interesting time next year, because with this GNU and everybody now.
Yeah. And I also want us to, I would love to do that with you. And I want us to think bigger than just when it comes to taxes, when it comes to the budget speech, because a lot of information that we as business owners need to listen out for is being shared there. So for example, if government says this year we want to invest 2 billion in this industry, right? As a business owner, you should be like, what do I need to do to make sure I get a share of that 2 billion? Who do I need to trade with in that particular industry so that I can, because government is going to put money in there. So the budget speech, you can actually find opportunities that can help you grow your business just by listening in and hearing where money is going to be invested.
Let's go to Leti Simelani. We're already running out of time. I'll give it another 10 minutes if you have 10 minutes, Pam.
Sure.
Okay. Leti Simelani wants to know, how do I factor the kilometers of my personal car that I use for work?
Okay, so it's very simple, Leti. You just keep a logbook, right? And nowadays, you don't need to keep it on a paper, download an app and keep track of you traveling to and from work, to and from the office, to and from clients, etc. So keep a logbook. As long as you can demonstrate the traveling, then you are able to deduct.
All right, we've got a follow up from Ula after that conversation about the R&D. She says, I don't know if it's a she, I'm making an assumption, I'm sorry if you're not. If they would like to leave, the company expects the employees to pay back the money spent on a course, for example. Is that ethical, and how can employees minimize on R&D without being restricted? So I'm assuming it's when an employee takes on the project of doing the research and development that the company then pays for them. Like, let's say they go to university to do their PhD. So the work that they're doing is research and development, but they're doing it under the company pays, but if they leave before they've done their buyback or payback time, they are now expected to pay that money, but now these ones have gotten an incentive from SARS.
Yeah. I think there you'd have to also bring in HR lawyers, because it sounds very, very legal. Again, we're not there to see what was agreed on in terms of the contract, what was agreed on in terms of paying for that particular employee when they are going to varsity. So yeah, it can get a little bit technical. We need a little bit more information. So yeah, I can share, because I know it sounds quite legal.
All right. Wonderful. Ndzumo. So Madiba would like to know, what if I don't earn a salary but earn a reimbursement from an NGO? Am I still expected to submit my tax forms?
Okay, so remember, if SARS doesn't know, the assumption is that whatever the NGO declares is what you're liable for. So you still do need to declare so that you can get SARS up to date. Are you with me? Yeah. So yes, you would have to.
Okay. Are you able, and I'm gonna just throw you under the bus for 2 seconds. Are you able to comment on the tax portion for this two-pot retirement system that's coming up 1st of September? Because I think a lot of South Africans are forgetting that the money they're going to withdraw is going to be tax liable.
You know what I recommend, Nico? Can we do like a 15-minute live just before then, so that I have all my facts in place? Perfect. So that I don't disclose anything I'm not 100% sure on. Perfect. And then maybe they can start drawing up the questions for that.
Yes. So guys, we'll do a tax portion of the two-pot retirement system. Maybe I'll do a thing. I'll bring somebody from the retirement space to speak on the two-part retirement system, and then Pam will speak on the tax, because
The
obviously you are withdrawing from
Mm.
your retirement fund now. So now that money now becomes, remember earlier on she had said that you do get a tax break when you're contributing to retirement because it's tax-free. But now that the money has been in the tax fund, it now comes, I mean the retirement fund, you want to take it out, it is liable for tax. So we'll get Pam to give Pam a little bit of time to just get some information. Pam, there's also something I want to find out from you, and there's Bells online. I don't know if she's still online, but I would love to sit with you guys, the two of you, and talk a little bit about how taxes handled between married couples, especially those who are married in community of property. Because if the estate is one, what does the tax look like? And I guess I don't want to get into it right now because we don't have enough time, but it would be really great to get into that conversation so people can also have an understanding of what the different marital regimes mean for your finances and your tax. Right. Makosi underscore MAK would like you to please share your contacts. We'll definitely do that at the end. Let's quickly jump into OG's question. Oh, sorry. Hi, guys. Thank you for the platform. Tell me, why is it that when one included actuals on the return, the amount on the calculator and the amount due decreases? I'm referring to service, petrol, and... Did you get the question?
I'm not quite following. Maybe
OG Mamu,
maybe if they can come to
share that question again. All right, sure. Pam, we've got a lot of questions here. If I am importing products, can I claim for the shipping costs incurred?
Yes, there's certain you know, when you are importing, hopefully you're also exporting, just saying. There are certain incentives, but remember, it's more beneficial when you are sending things out than when you are receiving, but there are definitely some deductions that are available for you.
Great. And I like that question because it leads me to another question. When you're working with and you're earning dollars and you're working with countries outside of South Africa, do you charge them VAT?
Okay, so that, right, is dependent on you, not who you are charging. Are you with me? So the fact that I'm a VAT vendor, it means that I need to charge VAT, but there are certain deductions that are available. So it's similar to a question where I wanted to touch on where somebody would say, you, Nicolette, are charging me VAT, but I'm not a VAT vendor. That's irrelevant. The fact that I, Nicolette, am a VAT vendor, I'm required on every sale to charge VAT. Who the recipient of that income or that invoice is not relevant because I am a VAT vendor.
Yes. No, certainly. Clara, I won't forget your question. I just need to scroll back up. And if you, Pam, we've got 4 minutes left. I'm trying to see if there's any more questions. I'm not seeing any because this phone just keeps scrolling up. But I like Bell's comment. And I think it really instills what you've said. Public participation and legislation making is key. I wish many of us prioritize this. Guys, you heard it from here, from the tax practitioner, from the lawyer herself. Please participate in public legislation when it is put out, when they're asking for comments. And these days we've got ChatGPT. Please, you just upload and say, summarize this for me. What implications does it have for me as a South African? One of my favorite things to do in the world is just, what implications does it have for me? Please summarize for me. Miss Babongile, you say, will I be in any trouble? In any trouble, what would be the problem, Babongile? I didn't get the first part of your question.
I'm worried.
We need to help you. Please tell us, what is the first part of the conversation? Okay, Pam, while I'm trying to scroll to Clara's question. Can you please share some information in terms of where to get hold of you, how to get hold of you, what's the best way to get hold of you? And I really want to put you on the spot and say, what type of cost can people expect? Because there's no point in, you know, sending people who can't afford you.
Ooh, guys. Okay, so how you can get a hold of me is via like our website, which is on www.Ndzumo Consulting. Oh, you can see my. Okay. Anyway, Ndzumo Consulting, which is basically NDZUMO Consulting.co.za. Another thing I want to share with you guys is I run a series of webinars. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll find so much information, so much like how does that work? COIDA, what every small business owner needs to know about COIDA. CCMA, there's so much information that is freely available on our YouTube channel that is there to empower you business owners. And we're also available on WhatsApp. You can find us on 083-212-8588. Thank you, Nicolette. That's our website. Cost, guys. Like I said, the businesses I work with are already making money. They just don't know what to do with it and how to manage it properly. So our prices, they start from 4.5, which is for bookkeeping, taxes, and payroll. And one of our key responsibility is to make sure that you pay little to no taxes legally. That's very important to us. And to also ensure that when it comes to your company's taxes, bookkeeping, payroll, you have one less thing to worry about because you are now working with Ndzumo Consulting. We pride ourselves in that.
I love that. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that people need to pay for a service and quality service.
Yeah.
And when they receive quality service, they don't even feel the payment that they're making. And that's why I always want every single one of us to be able to have a good relationship with money. You should be able to say your prices. And rightfully so, you should be able to say who you work with. You know what I mean? Some people don't also find themselves coming to Bob and saying, please help me, when you just like, listen, let's build your company to a point where I can help you. I'm glad that.
And the other thing we must be careful with, guys, I don't want to lie, you get what you pay for. Like if you pay for R2 accountant, you will get R2 worth of work from an accountant because you're not paying them enough to pay, right? So if you want them to care, when you call, they pick up, make sure you're paying them. Somebody said I must repeat the WhatsApp number. It's 083-212-8588.
Say it again.
083-212-8588.
Right. Ayanda says, Nicolette and Pam, Iyabulela Ilali Banda say, I have learned so much. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Please look at first comment. Miss Babongile. Babongile, asiboni first comment, Sana. We're not seeing. Apologies. If you can just repeat. If not, we will need to just send it to Pam at another time. She does have kids, so she needs to go. I know that for a fact. But yeah, Pam, I can't thank you enough. Clara, I will definitely answer your question. It's a very simple question. If I remember what your question was, it was around if you pay more into your mortgage, will the interest decrease? Yes, that's essentially what happens on an access bond account. If you pay additional amounts of money into your bond, when they do the calculation, remember, they do the calculation on the outstanding balance. If you pay the minimum amount that is required, it only deducts a certain amount of money from the principal. But if you pay extra, it deducts more from the principal. Therefore, the next month, they're going to deduct they're going to calculate the interest on a lesser outstanding fee. But we'll talk about that at another video. I want to say thank you very much to Pam. You've been absolutely fantastic. You've simplified everything. I don't think there's anything. Yes, there's more questions we have for you, but hopefully we can do more of these. I think there's questions around crypto. There's questions around, there's a lot. What happens when you do OSARs? Where do you go? What do you do? Who do you speak to? How do you?
Look, you owe them 10 million. We can help you.
I love it. Date arrangements, all of those things. I do think And record keeping. Why do small businesses need to keep their records? But I definitely want to invite you again and please ask you to do your part in the world and join us again to have a conversation like this. As I said, there's a lot of young people in this country who are running businesses. They're doing really well. They can afford the 4.5. They want to afford it because they want to scale and build their businesses. So definitely appreciate your time. And I think to everybody who's here, always, you guys know, you are the best of the best. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you. We appreciate even the engagement. I think that is, people are not just watching us. So we love it. We absolutely, but it's not automatic, right? My bunny, about paying the installment. It depends on the bond you have. In many instances, it is automatic, unlike a car payment, where a car payment, you need to give the instruction that you want that money to be advanced to the actual outstanding balance. On bond repayment, it is automatic if you have a compounding home loan, which all of us should have. Okay, and yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Pam, any last words?
Just thank you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm all for business owners and making sure things, run smoothly within their businesses and to change how you view things so that you can grow your business. And thank you so much, Nicolette, for having me. I really did appreciate, and I had an awesome time with the audience.
Thank you so much, Pam. And we'll look out for SME review. We can't wait to see your pretty face on it and read all about Ndzumo Consulting. Thank you very much. And very good night to everybody. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.